This is a tricky video to film. Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's Sarah, if you haven't seen me before. Hello. So today's video, as you can guess from the title, is like a little life update, kind of chit chat, talking about the subject. So yeah, if this is something that you might be interested in, then keep watching. So this is a bit of a different video for me. I did one video, I think it was my second ever YouTube video, where I explained my reasons for wanting to start YouTube and talked about this whole subject of my health. So if you didn't know, I'm actually a cancer survivor, twice, and it was a big reason why I wanted to start YouTube, for self-confidence, for, you know, motivation, stuff like that. So recently I had my first 6-month check at the hospital, which is the Macmillan Cancer Hospital, and I'm pleased to say all is good. So I did get the all clear, which is great news. But obviously the time building up to the appointments, they're tricky. They are tricky even now. I've been in remission now for 3 years, and I'll be honest, it doesn't get any easier. There's always that fear in the back of your mind, that niggling worry and anxiety that, you know, you're going to go to the hospital and it's not going to be good news. The reason for this, personally, for me, is because the second time I was diagnosed, I wasn't expecting it. I'd had it the first time, had my treatment, had my radiotherapy, and to me that was the end of it. It was done, that was it. So 3 years later, when it had come back, it shocked me, and yeah, I found that really, really tricky. I think really I have 5 pieces of advice. This is just, for me personally, these are the things that helped me, or that I should have done that I didn't, that I think might have helped. It may help you if you're in a similar situation. So number 1 is talk to somebody. For me, I found that really, really difficult. I had a very supportive network of friends and family, but for me, I just felt it was too difficult to say some of the things that were going through my head. More so to spare their feelings, because obviously the people around you are going through it as well, even though it's not the same. To a certain extent, you know, they go through it as well, and I found it very difficult to say what was going on in my mind mentally, because I didn't want to upset anybody. So I think my first piece of advice would be to talk to somebody outside of your circle. Macmillan nurses are absolutely fantastic. They're specialists in their field. They're very, very understanding, knowledgeable. Would highly, highly recommend speaking to a Macmillan nurse. I dealt with Macmillan through my journey, and I couldn't recommend them enough. You know, there's your GP, they could refer you to counselling, if that's something that you might need, and there's no shame in that. I actually had counselling after my first bout, and it did help to a certain extent. I just think talking to someone that's not that close is easier somehow, because you can say what's on your mind and not worry how that is going to affect that person. So that would be my first piece of advice. Number 2 would be, don't be ashamed if things affect you. I tried to be very strong, tried to keep it in, tried not to show too much, and I became quite withdrawn, which is not a good thing. So I would say, definitely, if you're feeling rubbish, tell your partner or your parents or whoever it may be who's close to you, tell them you're feeling rubbish. They're going to understand, and there's no shame in saying, I'm not coping right now. I was very reluctant to say that I wasn't coping, because I felt like I was not strong if I admitted that, and that's just not true. It's a hard thing to go through, physically and mentally. It's draining and it's hard, and I think no one would look down on you for saying, this is too much, it's getting to me, you know. So I think that's my number 2 piece of advice. Number 3 would be take time for you. Now, your body would have gone through, and it doesn't matter what type of cancer you've had, your body goes through the mill, and you feel run down, you feel ill, you feel tired, you feel depressed. Take time for yourself, okay? Even if that's going up to your bedroom, putting on a face mask, laying in the bath, listening to some relaxing music. You know, for me, sometimes when I'm feeling down, I like to get my nails done or get my hair cut or coloured, whatever. Shopping, whatever it is for you, take time. You need that time, because it's a lot of stress, and the stress can build up and build up. And I also found that initially, while I was when I was diagnosed and going through treatment and surgery, it never really hit me properly until everything calmed down. That is when it slapped me in the face, and that is when you need that time to recuperate, you know, let your mind adjust to what your body's been through. I went back to work quite early, after 6 months. For me, possibly it could have been too soon. I think for me it was more a case of keeping my mental stability. So for me, work kept me focused on something else. So that worked for me, but it won't work for everybody else. But you still need you time, and to keep that positive mental attitude. It's hard to be positive sometimes, so taking that time, you need to. Okay. And number 4 would be to learn something new. Now, I feel that when you learn something new, it gives you a new sense of motivation. Hence the reason I wanted to start YouTube. I knew nothing about photography. I knew nothing about video editing, filming videos, being in front of the camera. This is all new. And to me, it was a challenge, and it was something that kept my mind focused on something positive. And I think that that's really, really important. Sometimes when you've been through something traumatic, your mind can only focus on that, and it's not good for you. It's really not good, because then you go sort of deeper and deeper into depression. There's no shame in having depression. I've been through it, but obviously you want to try and do things that's going to build you up and not keep you in that low state. And YouTube was what it was for me. I'm interested in photography. Didn't know anything about it. Started to learn. You know, as you go along, you learn. And to me, it's motivation. So it could be learn a new language. It could be learn a new sport. It could be anything that keeps your mind active and away from all the things that go through your head when you've been through something like that. So that would be my number 4. And my last one, which is, it's an awkward one, and I had it said to me so many times that it actually made me sick. But they were right. People were right, and they were saying it out of love. But at the time, it's very difficult to hear that. But it's stay positive. I found this quite hard, especially after the second time. You know, I was sort of, the first time I was 30. Cancer can come at any time in anybody's life, and it can be anybody. It's not choosy, it's anybody. And I think for me, it was a shock. I wasn't expecting it. It came out of nowhere. Diagnosis was actually quite quick. It was a bit of a whirlwind, and I kind of dealt with it, moved on. There were still things that got to me. You know, it was a tough time to accept that there were certain things that I couldn't do anymore. restrictions that had been a result of surgery. But I moved on, I went back to work, I was trying to stay positive, and then 3 years later it spread to my lung, and that just hit me so hard. And you know, lots of people kept saying stay positive, and to me it was hard because I thought, you know what, cancer is going to get me in the end. And that was my mindset, and it was not good for my mental health at all, and it wasn't good for the people around me either. They're worried, they're scared, lots of things go through their heads that they don't tell you because they don't want to upset you. So everybody goes through it, you know, and it was hard for me to watch my mum and what she was going through, and also my husband. My husband was very strong, but I know there was things that were on his mind and stuff, and you know, there are things that are just not said. But I think as soon as you sort of become negative, it has that negative impact on everyone around you. So as hard as it is, it really is important to stay positive. Recovery is they state that recovery is quicker if you are positive, and it's just better all round. I found that I went on some forums that were sort of linked to my type of cancer that I had, the sarcoma, and spoke to other people that were going through the same thing on this forum. I found that quite useful. So maybe that could be something that you could look into. There are support groups. There are so many things, so many things, and people that are out there to sort of help. And I would just say, as hard as it is, do it. Things do get better. They take time. It's not something that magically improves overnight. No, it's going to take time. I still get scared. I still get down and depressed. I still think all the things that I thought before, you know, them horrible thoughts that go through your mind. It doesn't go away. I think once you've had cancer, that fear of it returning, it's difficult to get rid of, but it's not so present in the front of my mind anymore. It does get better. You know, you can push it to the back of your mind until the next appointment rolls around. So you don't want it consuming your life, which it can do. It can sort of take over everything, and that stops you from living. And obviously the one thing you learn when you're faced with a life-threatening situation or disease is life's valuable and you need to make the most of it. You know, I've been guilty of not doing that, and I'm trying very hard to live up to that saying of, you know, grab life by both hands. 2018 is all about me trying to be more positive and do all the things that I was too scared to do or reluctant to do. If I'm having a bad day or I'm worried about an appointment or something's planned on my mind, I will always speak to my husband, because they might not necessarily know what's going on in your mind, and if you've got mood swings they may not understand it. So talking and communication is also key. But you know, there's millions of people like me that have been through cancer and come out the other end, and that's what you need to focus on. Living proof that things can get better. So I really hope that this video was helpful to even just one person, then I'd be happy. Keep pushing forward, things get better.